Dark Discoveries is a podcast that dives into the darker corners of history, mystery, and the downright bizarre. We discuss real events that may include graphic details, adult themes, and strong language. Not suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is strongly advised.
We're here to inform, entertain, and maybe make you laugh nervous in public, but never to glorify the criminals or make light of their victims. Our research is thorough, but hey, we're not perfect.
We don't claim to be historians, so if we get something slightly off, blame Jimbo. All opinions are our own, and sometimes even those are questionable.
Welcome back to Dark Discoveries. I'm your host, Jimbo, and today I'm joined with...
Dustin.
And I'm Jackie.
Jackie, Dustin. It is our honor and privilege to be part of the Podcasthon 2026. It is where a group of podcasters get together and help promote different charities, make awareness for different charities. And we thought, what a better way to do that than to highlight one of our forget-me-nots. Dustin, what are the forget-me-nots that we talk about here on Dark Discoveries?
So we love to have a good time. We like to joke, laugh, make fun of things. But every now and then we have to be serious. And one of the things that we want to do is if we have a platform, we want to at least take that platform and do something positive with it. So we can talk about cases that are solved and all that's great. But when you have unsolved cases, missing children, that's a chance for us to hopefully make an impact, to put these cases in front of more eyes, more ears, to where hopefully somebody that knows something will go out and speak about it, talk about it, give them some confidence. Let the family know, especially that people care and people are still looking, to figure this stuff out. So it gives us an outlet to spotlight these cases and hopefully give us a chance to make a slight impact in the overall trajectory of the cases.
Right. So that is something we take very, very serious about on our podcast. Yes, we will talk about mermaids and cryptids and serial killers and all that. But every episode, we like to end the episode with a highlight of a missing children that is active right now. So hopefully they can be found and reunited with their families. So the charity that we just thought we would, prioritize on this episode, that if anybody has any extra money laying around that you want to help out, or even tell your friends and family about this podcast, hopefully they can reach out and help in the search. But the charity that we chose was the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, which is very near and dear to all of our hearts here. So without further ado, we're going to kick it over to Jackie to start this episode of the Forget-Me-Nots.
So right before we start tonight, we are going to cover the case of Emily Pike. But before I do that, I wanted to give you guys just a little bit of insight on some of the cultural surroundings of Emily Pike. In 2016, 5,712 American Indian and Alaskan Native American women and girls were reported missing by the National Crime Center for Information. Out of the 5,712 cases, only 116 were ever recorded to the U.S. Department of Justice's federal missing persons cases. Just in the year 2023, 5,800 Indigenous women, 74% of them being children, were missing. It is a belief held by many Native Americans that the dead can see the color red. For many years, a red handprint has represented a connection from the spirit world over to the physical world. Now, a red handprint across the mouth has come to symbolize the missing and murdered Indigenous women movement. So that is something that we don't normally get to hear this side of that culture, which is why this case tonight is so important to me. So we are covering Emily Pike. And before we do that, have either of you heard of her case? It is a very recent case. As of January, she went missing of 2025, and in February 2025, on Valentine's Day, she was found. Normally, when we cover a forget-me-not, the case is still pretty active and there has not been remains found, but this particular case is pretty intense, and I think that it needs to be told. So before we start tonight, the FBI is currently offering a reward of $75,000 for any person providing independent, verifiable evidence identifying to the individual responsible for the disappearance and the murder of Emily Pike. Her details: the Federal Bureau of Investigation's Phoenix Field Office in Gala County Sheriff's Office, and the San Carlos Apache Tribal Police Department, and the Mesa Police Department, all in Arizona, are seeking the public's assistance in identifying these individuals responsible for the disappearance. Emily was reported missing from a group home in Mesa, Arizona, January 27th of 2025. And on February 14th, 2025, her remains were recovered by the Gala County Sheriff's Department near the Forest Road 355 on state land near the San Carlos Apache Indian Reserve. Any information concerning this case, please contact the FBI's toll-free number at 1-800-CALL-FBI, which is 1-800-225-5324. You can also contact your local police office, and the nearest American embassy or consulate can submit your tips to the tips.fbi.gov. All right, so we are going to dive in tonight. San Carlos Apache teen Emily Pike went missing from the all-girls Mesa home. She was 14 years old. Her remains were later discovered in garbage bags along the Arizona highway just weeks later. So Emily had a history of running away from the same Mesa group home 3 times prior in 2023. But on January 27th, one of the girls living there told the staff that they had seen Emily crawling out of the window wearing a pink and gray striped long-sleeve shirt. Officer Ethan Capap with the Mesa police responded with his body cam rolling. "I'll pick up that picture from you, and I'll try to at least, search around the area. It hasn't been too long," said Cap. "I'll check over there by the facilities as well as on my way over to you just to see if she kind of went up to the same spot if we're lucky. And then you kind of know, we'll see how it goes from there. We'll get it in as a missing person, and if we can get in contact with her, obviously we'll notify you right away that we found her." So that was the body cam footage, and you can actually hear the entire phone call if you look this up, and the body cam footage that we just recited. It's all videoed and described. Emily was last seen walking near Mesa Drive and McKillips Road. In an email, Letitia Morals, who is the program director for the Mesa group home, told the news that it has been a tough time for Liz and the Sacred Journey family. The Arizona Department of Child Safety began their investigation of the Sacred Journey's license shortly after Emily went missing, with an inspection finding that some of the Mesa group home had violated a state regulation by failing to notify the agency's centralized intake hotline. The rules applied whenever a child's whereabouts are unknown by licensees, even as runaways. The state agency instructed Sacred Journey to update their policies and train their staff, but no further action was ever taken across this facility. When Emily was sent to the Mesa group home, she was still in the custody of the San Carlos Apache Tribe Social Services Department. State lawmakers held nearly a 3-hour fact-finding hearing, hoping to figure out how to prevent another tragedy like this. So basically what had started happening was the home was to report her missing. They reported back to the Apache tribe, who did not report it back to the police department in time. There's a crossover, unfortunately, between the two jurisdictions of how they're handled. And this delay in time really damaged this case.
I'm just trying to figure out how you can have a child escape 3 or 4 times and not look internally. Nobody
She always came back.
Yeah, nobody wants to be there, but when you're doing it over and over, it's a sign that something isn't right there.
Yes. Well, more than 2 weeks and over 100 miles separated Emily's last known location and the discovery of her remains. Authorities had not revealed the circumstances when they were found on Valentine's Day with the Toronto National Forest. Emily's body had been dismembered and divided up into a pair of black garbage bags. Her hands and her arms were missing. The missing and murdered unit at the Bureau of Indian Affairs helped identify the human remains believed to belong to an indigenous female. With the agents of the analyst, they were positively linking them to the disappearance of Emily from the mesa. The sign near the mile marker post 277 and nearby guardrails have been tagged with bloody handprints, the symbol of the missing and murdered indigenous people movement. Signs, flowers, crosses, stuffed animals adorn the highway all across the 25-mile north of the globe. The following months, the Pike family members have gone to Washington to meet with their Interior Secretary, Doug Burgum, and the FBI Director, Kash Patel, in their ongoing search for this justice. The Gila County Sheriff's Department, which led the investigation, has jurisdiction because of where Emily's body was found. The county contacts its coroner services from the neighboring penal community. The major find in Emily's case was that she had died from blunt force trauma. When she was murdered, she was dismembered, tossed to the side of the road like she didn't matter, said Allard Pike Jr., who is Emily's paternal uncle. She was our daughter, our niece, our granddaughter, our cousins, our friend. I wouldn't tell you that she mattered. Her life mattered. Pike spoke on behalf of the family back in May when Governor Katie Hobbs signed Emily's Law, which is a legislation that has been established as Arizona's Turquoise Alert. The Turquoise Alert is to help locate any person under the age of 65 or younger who is believed to be in imminent danger. So they are working really hard right now to gap this divide between the two jurisdictions, and they are working on the Turquoise Law. Unfortunately, despite its namesake, the Turquoise Law could not have been issued for Emily because she was an ongoing missing person and was deemed a runaway. And that type of disappearance does not qualify for this system. So even though there's this entire bill being named for her in this procedure, it would not have helped. And we had the similar situation when we covered Serenity Dennard, that this child was a runaway, and because she was a runaway, she did not qualify for an active Amber Alert for over 24 hours, which I think we've got to come up with a better system. Personally, we're losing
when it's
time.
a child, I mean, you need to be on it as quick as possible, and if you waste a little bit of time with an officer and you find them, it's still a win.
Absolutely.
Now,
It's not wasted time.
did they ever find any evidence or anything about this? Because to me, it sounds like, when you find somebody dismembered like that, they're trying to make a point. Like, you crossed me here. This is what we're capable of. This is what we're capable of if you don't stop or get out of our way. I don't know. Could it be a rival tribe in the area?
Could be, but it's difficult to say because this was not something seen. She had a history of running away. She had a history of some rather sad things. And rather than speculate on that, let's talk about her life just a little bit, and then we can dive into it because you may get a little bit more insight on some of this. So Emily Pike was 14 years old, and she was a Native American resident of the San Carlos Apache Indian Reservation. According to her mother, Steph Dulce, she had an interest in art, and she was planning to go to college. At the time of her disappearance in 2025, she lived at the group home ages 7 to 18 in Mesa, Arizona. Pike was last seen January 27th at 7:45 p.m. According to the police department, she left home wearing a gray and pink sweatshirt hoodie. Video surveillance cameras captured images of Pike after she had left, but authorities did not reveal where. So since this is still such a fresh case, they were able to track some of her movements, but unfortunately that is not a known thing at this time. Pike's case manager informed her mother of her daughter's disappearance a week later. So the mother, for over a week, had no idea that her daughter was even missing. The Mesa police stated Pike had a history of fleeing from group homes and had reports indicated that she had to run away from the group home 4 previous times before her murder. In November of 2023, officers also responded to a call about a suicide attempt. Pike was originally placed in this group home located over 100 miles from her home in September of 2023 by the Tribal Social Services after being, I'm so sorry, this is a hard thing for me to read, after reporting being sexually assaulted. Instead of police, tribal game and fish rangers arrived. The suspect was never arrested and the case was dropped. As a result, Emily was removed from her home. Her and another child were reported missing on September 11th of 2023 and found at the Kleinman Park, stating that they didn't want to return. 9 days later, Pike went missing again, and she was found walking. Body cam footage shows Pike pleading with officers not to take her back to the group home, telling them she wanted to be with her grandmother. She was reported missing on October 31st, but hours later, police were told that she had been returned. So that, to me, is problematic. You have a child who is a literal child who was sexually assaulted by a family member, and rather than take the case was dropped, and this family member was let go. And to protect Emily, she was sent to live in this group home, which financially, there were some things and constraints that put her in that position, but therapy would have been a lot more understanding.
Yeah, let's take the victim out of the environment versus the person
predator.
The predator
Yes.
doing it. Let's leave them there and not take them and deal with that. That's your first really
and
big.
not only that, but over 100 miles away, you have a child who has been assaulted, taken away from her family like it's her fault.
No support system,
put
no
into
family.
a group home with people that have troubles and issues, and that's just it. She's pleading to go home to her grandmother.
Right. So she still wants to go to somewhere where she's loved and she feels safe.
That's just it. She's
Instead of
looking
being
for safety.
further excommunicated. But do we know, like we've said that she's ran away 3 or 4 times from this place. Do we
Correct.
know how many children have ran away from that home?
Unfortunately, that has not really been stated because this was the first case where a child fully went missing. That was kind of at the disclosure of the home, which is why they were looked into as closely as they were after this allegation and this actual disappearance. But yeah, unfortunately, it just was not a well communicated.
It seems like there's definitely a breakdown of communication on what's going on. And, I don't know, being in a reservation, or I'm assuming is how it's set up, that are they looked at the same way and licensed and operate the same way as this would if it was
essentially
outside?
its own colonization. They can do things, the law, how they want. They can have their own schooling. They can have their own education systems. It is its own functioning entity. And due to the restrictions put up by the government, then they are allowed to govern as they want in their community. But unfortunately, it's the women and the children that are suffering from a lot of this.
Right. But let's go back to something that you read. Mm-hmm. When they called, who showed up? It wasn't the police. It was the fish and game wildlife.
And actually, I'll get to that. It's because this particular area was so vast. They only had a few people. And that night, they did not have very many. So I actually do have the information on that too.
They said it took a week to inform the mother?
Oh, yes.
Is that just because they couldn't find the mother?
No. It was because of the jurisdictions. And so the state of Arizona is a different jurisdiction than the 100 miles away where the reservation is that they were at. So they basically had to go through hoop after hoop to even contact mom.
So it's kind of like that's why we can have a casino on this reservation and not in the rest of Arizona.
Exactly.
Right? I got you.
Yes, exactly. So unfortunately, on February 27th, 2025, the Gila County Sheriff's Office announced that hikers had found contract bags. So there's a little bit of discrepancy. She was actually found on February 14th, but they did not release a lot of this due to the jurisdictional problems to the public until the 27th. So that's a little clarification on that. They announced that the hikers had found contractor bags in the remains of a unidentified female, later identified as Pike, off of Highway 60 on February 14th. Detectives were unable to find her arms and her hands. The autopsy showed that she had face and head trauma. The county stated that that they were investigating the homicide, and according to Dulce, no one had been arrested in the relation to this, but 3 potential suspects are being interrogated. Unfortunately, all 3 of those had pretty good alibis, and they're all no longer being looked at. So private information related to the investigation was later leaked on Facebook. And another terrible thing, this is actually how the mother found out that her daughter had been murdered, was via on Facebook and saw the pictures. So she didn't find out her daughter was missing for over a week, but then she didn't even find out that her daughter was dead until it was on Facebook and someone had leaked the pictures from the crime scenes.
So I wonder how long it would have took them to come tell her that she was dead.
That's just it. Just the amount of, I'm looking for the right word, the amount of back and forth. I mean, it's so sad because so much of this probably could have been prevented had we'd worked together faster.
Well, it's like, when you see this in like small towns, like, let's say in Delphi, right up the road here.
Yes.
When we had the 2 girls, Libby and Abby, that were murdered. Yes, it happened in Carroll County. So that is the Carroll County jurisdiction, right? But, what they did is they reached out to the Indiana State Police. They reached out to the FBI. They reached out to this whoever. So I think that sometimes people's egos get in the way.
It's like, okay, does Carroll County have more investigative resources than the state police?
No.
Do they have more, more experience and proper training and everything than the FBI? No, they turn it over to who can solve the case. It shouldn't be an ego or a jurisdiction thing. It's, you have a child missing.
Let's find them.
Let's get on the ball and not push it off. And, I don't care if it's a fish and game warden that shows up first, as long as somebody's actively looking and actively passing that information along to the next group of people, you can maybe figure something out and solve it and have a bigger perimeter to start. Okay, we know it's not here. We can broaden out, but when you don't, you've got one kid wandering and you don't know if she's wandering along the side of the road. Is she wandering through, the desert? It's Arizona, so it's going to be, it's not going to be the best environment.
Exactly. Well, the police did not call Stephanie, which was Emily's mother. She ended up calling them after viewing the pictures online. And Stephanie was a member of the San Carlos Apaches tribe, and her daughter had been missing for 18 days after running away from the group home. I couldn't imagine what this poor mother, as a mom, the horror of the things that your daughter is going through. And then to find out, it's been over a week. And for her to have to be the one to call the police department to find out. She herself said a mother should not find out on social media about her daughter's dismembered body. And she wrote the statement into the Arizona state legislation on May 14th in honor of this turquoise law. The unthinkable way that Dulce said she was found out about her daughter's murder is emblematic of poor communication and failures of individual pieces of the tribal, the county, and the state's systems. First, to keep Emily safe, and second, to find her after she went missing, which I think that sums it up entirely, and because of this horribly tragic event, this ongoing legislation committee has been coming together with the people from the San Carlos Apaches tribe and the state, and they are working very hard to do this. So during a joint legislative oversight committee hearing May 14th, Arizona lawmakers heard from law enforcement officials, leaders of the San Carlos Apaches tribe, Emily's family, and the Arizona Department of Child Safety about the failures of the system and ways to prevent what happened to Emily from happening again. Police, legislators, and Emily's family members alike could be seen quietly sobbing through near 3 hours of this hearing. Emily went missing from the Mesa home January 27th. Her remains were found near Globe, outside the reservation where her family lives, on February 14th. But the system deficiencies that led her to disable the alarm on her bedroom window and run away from the Mesa home date back years before. So had precautions been followed up even prior to this? Once again, it sounds so similar to the case of Serenity, where it was just a perfect storm, and had little things been done prior, she would quite possibly be here with us.
And it's just, what does that say about the security if, a 13-year-old, 12-year-old, 10-year, however old, was at the time that she figured a lot of this out, if they can get past it, like how good is it really, and how vulnerable are these kids on a daily basis,
Well, how I had mentioned earlier about the fish and game that showed up. So the Fish and Game responded instead of one of the officers, and it's because the Fish and Game are experts in finding people in extremely rural areas of the reservation, and all the police were simply busy that day. Yeah. At the time, there were only 22 officers on staff to cover the entire 1.8 million acre reservation. Oh, and the family member that was accused of assaulting Emily was arrested, but soon released without being charged. Meanwhile, Emily was taken into the custody of the San Carlos Apache Social Services for her own safety and sent to the Mesa home. Yeah, And I know, and like I said, a lot of that seems like in the Apache culture, it gets brushed under the rug a lot. Like it doesn't get dealt with, and that's why you get, I think, a lot of the children and the women missing is just because it isn't a priority. I don't want to sound horrible about it, but it seems like it happens over and over. Unfortunately, I feel the same way. Emily lived on the reservation with her mother and other family members. Her father is currently still in prison for a arson-related conviction. But in the statement, the leader of the home said that she suffered from addiction issues, she lives in poverty, and she believed Emily was safe in the group where she was sent. While Emily was living at the facility with licensed by DCS, she went missing. She was not in the department's custody. She was in the custody of the tribe, which contracts with group homes for placement. The San Carlos tribe was only one tiny group home on the reservation, and they must place children in other locations when it's full. So essentially, she was sent 100 miles away, and the people that were responsible were back home in that 100 miles. And when it's overcrowded and when it's too much, then it becomes the jurisdiction of someone else. And so it's a lot of finger pointing of, you should have been in charge, not me. Because Emily was in custody of the tribe, a sovereign nation, certain reporting requirements outlined in the Arizona law when a child in DCS custody goes missing did not apply to her. Catherine Park, who is the director of the Arizona Department of Child Safety, explained the amended state law signed last year in response to a surge in runaways from the DCS homes didn't pertain to Emily because she wasn't in the DCS system. So it just was a perfect storm. Anything that could have gone wrong. This particular law, it requires family and friends of the school of missing children to be contacted within 24 hours of their disappearance to obtain any information about where they might be. It also stipulates that if the child's family and tribe must be contacted by phone and in writing to inform that their child is missing. Therein lies one major issue identified by numerous people who have spoken to the committee. Tribal sovereignty means that the state generally doesn't have power to pass laws that control tribes. So when a child is living on tribal land and either eligible for enrollment or enrolled in a tribe, The tribe has exclusive jurisdiction. The state can't come in and tell them what to do with their children. So as a result of all of this, the group home reported Emily missing January 27th, and the tribe was informed the next day. But the tribal caseworker did not immediately consider her disappearance an emergency. San Carlos Attorney General Alex Ritchie explained since she had run away several times before, they assumed she would return. San Carlos Apache Social Services didn't even inform Emily's family of her being missing for over an entire week. At this time, we are currently working to... So sorry, I'm trying to get my paper to turn. We are currently working. Governor Hobbs has signed a new law that will create a alert. It's called the Turquoise Alert, a new kind of system that can be issued by the Department of Safety when a Native person goes missing. The legislation was introduced before Emily went missing, but it was later renamed Emily's Law after her body had been found. So we will post Emily's information on our sites. Anyone regarding information or that is curious about this case can pass it on. Please, please, please. Any information can be sent to the FBI at 1-800-CALL-THE-FBI, or you can also work with the Gila County Sheriff's Office, and their number is on here somewhere, and we'll find it.
So was there ever any DNA evidence or any evidence at all? They had her body and they know she was dismembered. They never found her arms and hands, right?
They have yet to find her arms, her hands, and the only thing that they can tell you is she had blunt force trauma to her face and to the back of her head. So it is just a truly unknown. They do have video surveillance of her, but at this time, they really don't have any leads. So this entire case is just devastating.
So they really need a lot of people to remember to see if they saw something that night.
Absolutely. Not only to see if they saw something, but, to play back their video cameras and to look in the area and communication, guys. When it comes to children, we all have to work together.
It's like we always say, if you see something,
Say something.
right?
But this is just one of those things that baffles you is being dismembered and put into contractor grade trash bags is not how your normal homicide's going to go.
It sounds like a very escalated.
And like we're talking, is this kid walking across the desert? I don't know. It's early, but it's still gonna be hot out there. It gets really cold at night. It's a crazy place. Are you seeing a mirage over the sand as you're going and going the wrong way? Did you stumble across something you weren't supposed to stumble across? Is it somebody within the community that's doing this that they're sweeping under the rug and protecting, or they don't want to, make it look bad, but it's not your normal murders,
It is such a strange case because there's just such a tragedy behind the things that has gone through this girl. But then the way she was found is so unusual for a murder victim that it almost makes me feel that whomever has done this before.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the point I was kind of getting at was it's not your first kill.
Yeah, it's escalated. And the reason the hands are missing and the arms are missing is there's something very methodical about that. Whether that is to hide identity or hide something that was done, there's a reason.
And I would think the cartel would have a heart if they stumbled across a child that they wouldn't do.
I would hope so.
But they're wanting to make a statement with what they do. They don't hide it. They leave it out in the open to be seen typically as a scare tactic. And this is, I don't know. I don't know if they thought it would go undiscovered or...
Well, you got to think it goes back to those contractor bags. There's different types of contractor bags. So hopefully they can narrow it down to a certain brand.
Absolutely.
But not only that, but let's think about this. Who was it? Was it Israel Keys? I think that was the serial killer that he killed like 70 something people. I think they said he was a truck driver, right? If I remember right.
He was going across
They're
America.
going across back and forth across America, killing people. Did she stumble upon somebody like that? Saw her walking, they took advantage. They already had their stuff with them that they use.
Yeah.
And it's so scary. Is it somebody within your community? Is it somebody with power
member
in your community, or is it a complete stranger?
It sounds like a crime of opportunity to me because it just happened to be the perfect storm of things.
Now, you said she went missing along with another girl, correct? Ran
Yes.
away.
They had run away on September 11th, but they were found at the local park, which I think there is some significance to the dates that she was missing. She was missing on September 11th, which here in the United States is quite a sad holiday. She was missing on October 31st, which is Halloween. She was found on Valentine's Day.
It's just too many creepy connections.
There's a lot for the timeline that she was in. And that alone kind of makes me wonder, was she intentionally found on that date? How long she had been there, things like that.
You hate to have your mind go that way, but that's kind of, it's like, how ironic is it that you find them?
Just the odds of those particular days is very strange.
Right. Yeah. So, once again, we'd like to thank you guys for giving us an opportunity and listening to us. We'd love to have you come aboard and try out some of our other episodes. Remember that our charity that we wanted to highlight this week is the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. And I encourage everybody to go on that website and just look at how many kids are missing.
And just check your area.
And check your area.
And that's the thing. You may not stumble across somebody from, a state or two away in your state, but if you keep an eye on what's going on around you, you may see something that could be something that could be solved.
Well, how many times do we see an Amber Alert go out on your phone and it says missing from Indiana and they find them in Ohio or they find them in Michigan or they find them in Illinois so fast.
Yeah.
So,
and that's something too. Please, read about the turquoise alert, go to your local jurisdictions, vote for these things, work on the communications that we need. And if you want to get involved, this is the best way. And we've got to work together to find the children and bring them home.
And just because you're in a small section of a community in a vast country, we're all, native or not, we're all Americans. And every life matters as much. And I'm trying to figure out why we have to have a separate one. Why is it not already
in place,
integrated into the Amber Alert that's already done? So now you have to come in, set up something totally different, which, those communities are typically more, I don't want to say secure, but they're more tight-knit. Not a lot of outsiders, I'm sure. But you still should have that information.
They're probably also more secluded.
Exactly. Secluded is what I was looking for.
So my thing is, how long is it going to take somebody to say, well, is this an Amber Alert or is this a Serenity Alert or is this an Emily Alert?
Exactly it. We've got to find a way for these runaways because an Amber Alert won't be issued until 24 hours after a runaway. Right. We've got to find a way to get the information out there faster because, yes, I would much rather put out a alert that, we have a runaway and they're home that night than have another case like this ever again.
Before you put out any, which granted the police will have some, hey, we think it's this vehicle before they put it out. Mm-hmm. But how far can you get in 24 hours?
Well, and here's the thing.
You can get anywhere you want to go in 24 hours.
Anytime you're dealing with a kid, why wait?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Well, thanks for joining us. This has been Dark Discoveries.
Where the deeper you dive,
the darker it gets.
In the shadows where whispers dwell, voices silent, in darkness they fell. Missing yet not forgotten, their dreams like stars. See some famous, say it clear, together we'll bring them near. Every story and face, a piece of love remains. Hold them close, join the light we've gained. Their spirit lives on, we've got them caught in. Together we'll shine, never let them go. Through the night, their memories guide. A gentle touch, a whispered goodbye. Every tear, every smile, a part of us stays. In the light we find what we may. Every whisper, every sigh, in our hearts they'll always lie. Their presence felt, their love we see. In the shadows we're free. Every story and face, a piece of love remains. Hold them close, join the light we've gained. Their spirit lives on, we've got them caught in. Together we'll shine, never let them go. Never enough.